All right, if you're involved in construction in England, you absolutely need to get your head around Approved Document S. Now, this isn't just some dusty piece of guidance, it's a total game changer. It makes electric vehicle charging a mandatory part of building. In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know so your projects are compliant right from day one.
June 15th, 2022. You might want to circle that date in your calendar, because that's when these rules officially kicked in. And the goal? Well, it's pretty straightforward. Future-proof our buildings and get them ready for the massive, and I mean massive, shift to electric vehicles.
So this is the million-dollar question for anyone in the industry, isn't it? Is your next project actually compliant? Because, let's be clear, these regulations are not suggestions. They are a legal requirement. And getting this wrong? Oh, that can lead to some serious project delays and costs you definitely didn't plan for.
So here's how we're going to tackle this. We're going to break it down nice and logically. We'll start with new homes. Then we'll look at commercial and mixed-use properties. And after that, major renovations. From there, we'll dive into the nitty-gritty technical standards and wrap up with the key exemptions. By the end of this, you'll have a crystal-clear roadmap.
Right, let's kick things off with the first big one, new residential buildings. This all falls under requirement S1. And honestly, the core idea here is pretty simple.
But before we go any further, we need to nail down a key term, associated parking. So, what is it? Think of it as any parking space that's within your site's boundary and is meant for the people living there or their visitors. So yeah, your driveway counts, dedicated parking bays count, but public on-street parking? Nope, that's out. So here's the rule of thumb. Every new home with its own associated parking has to have an EV charge point. Simple as that. Building a house with a driveway? It needs a charge point. A block of 10 flats with 10 dedicated spaces? You guessed it, you need 10 charge points. It's basically a 1-to-1 ratio.
Now, what if the costs start to spiral? Well, the regulations have a crucial cost protection built right in. The government knew that grid connection costs can get crazy expensive, especially on tricky sites. So they put a cap on it. If the average connection cost for each charge point goes over £3,600, you're not on the hook to install every single one.
But wait, hitting that cost cap doesn't mean you're totally off the hook. For any parking space that doesn't get a full charge point because of that limit, you have to install the next best thing, and that's cable routes. Basically, you're putting in all the groundwork, the ducting, to make a future installation super simple and cheap.
Okay, so that handles new homes. But what about the places we work, shop, and hang out? Let's move on to new non-residential buildings, your offices, your retail units, and also mixed-use developments. This is where requirements S4 and S6 come into play.
The rule here is a little different. For a new non-residential building with more than 10 parking spaces, you've got a two-part job. First, you've got to install at least one active working charge point. Second, you need to install those cable routes for 1/5, that's 20%, of the remaining spaces.
Let's make this real with an example. Imagine a new office with a 21-space car park. You'd install one active charge point. That leaves you with 20 spaces. You need to provide cable routes for 1/5 of those, which is 4 spaces. The other 16 spaces? They don't need anything right now. And what about those mixed-use buildings? It's actually really logical. You just apply the rules separately to each part. The residential parking follows the S1 rule, 1 charge point per home, and the non-residential parking follows the S4 rule, 1 active point plus cable routes for 1 in every 5 spaces. Simple.
Okay, let's switch gears and talk about existing buildings. The rules still apply if you're doing a major renovation, but the way cost protection works is different. Instead of that fixed cash amount, it's based on a percentage of your total project cost.
So what counts as a major renovation? It's not just a new coat of paint. It's defined as work that affects more than 25% of the building's outer shell. We're talking big stuff, like recladding or a massive extension. If your project hits that mark and has more than 10 parking spaces, these rules kick in.
Let's put these two cost protection models side by side, because this is key. For new builds, you've got that fixed 3,600-pound cap per charge point for the grid connection. For renovations, it's flexible. The total cost of all your EV infrastructure work can't go over 7% of the total cost of the entire renovation.
Okay, so you know when and where you need to install a charge point, but what about the hardware itself? This is where Regulation 44J comes in, and it lays out the minimum standards. These are the absolute non-negotiables for every single unit you install.
First, let's get crystal clear on what a compliant cable route really is. It is not just a line on a blueprint. It has to be a physical, safe, and clear path. Think ducting or trunking that lets someone run cables in the future without having to call the builders back to start digging or drilling.
And for the charge points themselves, here are the core specs you need to remember. A minimum power output of 7 kilowatts. They have to be untethered, which just means they have a universal socket so pretty much any EV can plug in. They also need a clear status indicator, like a light or a screen. And, this is critical, they must be installed on their own dedicated electrical circuit. Accessibility is also a huge consideration. These regulations work hand in hand with Part M. The bottom line is, at least one of your designated accessible parking spaces must have either a full charge point or, at the very least, a cable route ready for a future connection. Now, like any good regulation, there are a few important exceptions and special cases you need to have on your radar. So let's quickly run through the main ones. In covered car parks, active charge points are often exempt due to some technical safety reasons, but you'll still usually need to put in the cable routes. For listed buildings, the rules can be relaxed if sticking to them would totally ruin the building's historic character. And for renovations, there's a final cost backstop. If even just installing the cable routes would push you over that 7% project cost threshold, the whole requirement is waived.
And that really brings us right back to the whole point of Approved Document S. It's about getting our entire building stock ready for an all-electric future. It's a pretty practical regulation designed to build out that foundational infrastructure we're going to need as we all switch to zero-emission cars.
For more videos diving deep into the technical requirements of building regulations, visit the Building Regulations Copilot YouTube channel.
For any building regulations-related queries, head over to buildingregulationscopilot.com.